Hello, I'm Michael Topham, technical writer for digital photo, and welcome to this first of 3 masterclass video lessons. In this month's masterclass feature, we're studying Photoshop's range of layer styles that can be selected from a number of different areas in Photoshop, including the Layers palette and from Layer up in the menu bar. Before we get stuck into the first of 3 layer style techniques, let's take a bit of time to learn exactly what they are and when they can and when they cannot be used. If you haven't explored layer styles before, they're basically ready-made Photoshop effects that can be added to our layers, although they can't be applied to every layer that appears in the Layers palette, and it's important to know that they can only be applied to editable layers. This means that layer styles will not work with background layers. And if we have a look in my Layers palette on my screen, which has a background layer in it, we can see that if I go up to Layer in the menu bar and then down to Layer Style, the layer styles appear in grey and they cannot be selected. If I wanted to apply a layer style directly to this background layer, it involves turning it into an editable layer first, and this can easily be achieved by going into the Layers palette and double-clicking on the background layer thumbnail. If I hit OK, that will turn our background layer into an editable layer, and if I now go up to Layer in the menu bar and then go down to Layer Style, all of the layer styles are now selectable and are ready to be used. So then, that's enough of the theory. Let's see how we can use layer styles effectively to enhance the presentation of this portrait on a page. You'll find this file on the CD in the Start Images folder, and it's called claudia.jpg. Load this up into your version of Photoshop, and we need to start by selecting and copying the entire image. So let's go up to Select in the menu bar, move down and then click on All, and then to copy that we can either hit Ctrl and C, or we can go up to Edit and then down to Copy. We can hit Ctrl and D just to hide those marching ants, and then we can close it down, and there's no need to save it. To create our new document that we're going to be working on, let's go up to File in the menu bar, go down to New, and we need to set the preset to International Paper, and I'm going to choose a paper size of A4. Check that the resolution is set to 300 and the colour mode is set to RGB colour, and then go up and hit OK. Because our portrait image is in the landscape orientation, we need to spin this document around, and the easiest way of doing that is to go up to Image, down to Rotate Canvas, move across and then just go down to 90 degrees clockwise, give that a click and that will spin it around for us. To paste the portrait image into my new document, we can go up to Edit and then down to Paste, but I like to use the keyboard shortcuts where I can, so I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut for paste, which is Ctrl+V, and there it is, it's been pasted nice and centrally in the document. Whenever we add or create a new layer in Photoshop, it's always good to get into the practice of renaming it. So I'm going to double click on Layer 1 in my Layers palette, and I'm just going to give this layer the name Portrait, and then I'm going to hit Enter on the keyboard. To set off the simple but effective drop shadow layer style that we'll be adding shortly, I'm first going to add a stroke inside the portrait, and this will help set off the drop shadow effect. Now, to add a stroke, you might think that I'm going to go up to Edit and then down and click on Stroke, but I'm not going to do that because there's a stroke layer style that we can use instead. And let's not forget that it's always a good idea to use a layer style if we get the opportunity, because they're non-destructible, and that means that we can come back to it later and make further adjustments or changes should we need to. So to apply our stroke layer style, I'm going to go up to Layer in the menu bar, move down to Layer Style, move across, and I'm going to click on Blending Options. This loads up the Layer Styles dialog, and we can see all the different layer styles down the left hand side, and at the top, the Blending Options give us universal control of how all the layer styles affect our selected layer. We're going to concentrate on this stroke layer style to begin with, So move down through all of the layer styles right down to the bottom of the list and select the stroke so it appears in blue, and the options that we need to control the stroke are shown in the center of the dialog. We need to set the stroke size to 90 pixels. So take hold of the size slider and just drag this over to the right and set this to 90 pixels, and we can see that the stroke has been applied around the outside of the image. The edges are slightly rounded at the moment, and I want to maintain the sharp edges. So I'm going to go back into the stroke and I'm going to change the position from outside to inside. Moving further down, I'm going to keep the blend mode set to normal, and if you wanted to, just to make the effect a little bit more subtle, you could just decrease the opacity value and the opacity slider, but I actually want quite a bright stroke, so I'm just going to keep this right over to the right, set at 100%. It's very easy to change the colour of the stroke, and I'm just going to move the layer styles dialog up to the top left a little, and just double click on the red area, and that will load up the colour picker. Here we can use the colour picker to pick a colour from the image if we'd like to, but on this instance I'm just going to type in a very specific colour into this colour values box down at the bottom, and I'm just going to type in D8, 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 and that will give us a nice light grey stroke around the outside of the portrait. Once you've done that, you can move up and hit OK. So now that we've applied a very successful stroke layer style to the image, to our portrait, I'm going to move up through these layer styles on the left and apply our second layer style, and I'm going to select the drop shadow. The blend mode for drop shadow will be set to multiply as default, and we're going to leave it on that for now. To add a shadow to the bottom left of the image, we need to change the angle of the light source. I'm going to change the angle from the default 120 degrees to 45 degrees. Moving down to our distance, spread and size sliders, we need to go for a distance of around 95 pixels. So you could just drag the distance slider over to the right, or if you want to be very precise about the distance, you can just highlight the value and type in 95. Moving down to the spread, we're going to keep this set to 0%, and moving down to the size, we're just going to enlarge this slightly, and this will enlarge the size of the shadow. So I'm just going to drag this over to the right, and you'll be able to see that we are just starting to increase the size of the shadow there. I'm just going to keep dragging this right, and I'm going to settle for a value of around 190 pixels. Moving further down to the quality controls, we're going to keep the contour set to linear for now, but if you want to add variations to the opacity, just click on the small downwards arrow to load up the contour picker, and you can just go through and just click on some of these to see the different effects. And we can see that some of these are quite effective, but I'm going to stick with the linear for my image. So now that we've applied our two layer styles, our stroke layer style and our drop shadow layer style, we're ready to go ahead and apply them to our portrait layer. To do that, we just simply go up and hit OK. As I mentioned slightly earlier, the great thing about layer styles is that they're non-destructible, just like layer masks. So down the line, if you fancy like changing any of the values or settings for the drop shadow or stroke layer styles that we've applied in this technique, you can do very easily. Head into the layers palette and double click on the layer style effect name, and from here you can tweak the settings as desired. If you like, you can also turn all the layer styles on and off to check out the differences between before and after by using the eye visibility icons alongside the layer styles in the layers palette. So let's say I wanted to turn off all the layer styles that we've applied in this technique. What I'd do is I'd just go alongside effects there in the layers palette and just click on that small icon, and that turns off the layer styles that we've applied. And to turn them back on again, I simply click alongside effects, and that shows the layer styles that we've applied. And moving down, we can actually turn off the individual layer styles by using the icons alongside the layer styles names. If you've enjoyed this introduction to Photoshop's layer styles, there are another 2 techniques to look forward to and try out. In the next one, we'll see how we can apply a graduated ND filter effect to one of our landscape images using the powerful gradient overlay layer style. I look forward to seeing you in the next video very shortly.